Imagine living in a fog, your own husband twisting your memories, making you doubt your sanity, telling you you're too emotional to be believed. That was my life. Trapped, erased, broken. But I found my voice in a notebook, turned my pain into a best-selling memoir, and exposed his lies to the world. Want to know how I turned his manipulation into my triumph? Stick around. This story will leave you speechless. Hey everyone, I'm Hannah Ellis. I'm 32, living in Chicago, and I'm an author and founder of a foundation that helps women escape abuse. But 5 years ago, I was a wife lost in a haze of manipulation, doubting my own mind. Today, I'm sharing a real-life story from my life, a story of betrayal, resilience, and the kind of justice that feels like a long overdue exhale. If you've ever been manipulated, underestimated, or made to feel invisible, this one's for you. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's dive into a story that might just touch your heart. Ready? Here we go. I grew up in a small Chicago suburb where the air smelled of lake breeze and fresh-cut grass. My family was warm but ordinary. My mom baked pies, my dad fixed cars, and I was the dreamer, always writing stories in spiral notebooks. I studied English in college, worked as a copywriter, and by 27, I was married to Daniel Reed, a charming marketing executive who seemed like he'd stepped out of a movie. Daniel was everything I thought I wanted. Tall, with a warm smile and hazel eyes that sparkled when he laughed, he could charm a room in seconds. He'd tell stories at dinner parties, his voice smooth, making everyone hang on his words. We met at a work event, him in a sharp blazer, me in a thrift store dress, blushing when he said, "You're the most interesting person here, Hannah." We married a year later, in a small park under blooming cherry trees, the air sweet with spring. I thought we were partners. I supported his career, proofread his presentations, and cheered his promotions. But behind closed doors, something darker was brewing. Daniel had a way of twisting things. At first, it was small, like when I'd mention a conversation and he'd laugh. "That never happened, Hannah. You're imagining things." Or when I'd plan a dinner, and he'd say, "You always overreact about these things." His tone was gentle, almost kind, but it cut deep. I started doubting myself, my memories, my feelings, my reality. By 29, I was a shadow of myself. Our apartment, with its sleek furniture and city views, felt like a cage. I'd wake up to the hum of the coffee maker, my hands trembling as I poured a cup, wondering if I'd misremembered another argument. Daniel would smile, kiss my forehead, and say, "You're too emotional, babe. Let me handle things." I believed him, thought I was the problem. Pause for emotional weight. Then came the night that broke the fog. It was a stormy evening, rain pounding the windows, thunder shaking the walls. Daniel was late, again, claiming a client dinner. I found his phone on the counter, a text glowing. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, D." It was from a coworker, Emily, her name popping up too often lately. My heart raced, my hands cold against the phone. I didn't confront him. I just sat there, the storm raging outside, feeling like my mind was unraveling. That's when I picked up a notebook. I started writing, raw, messy words spilling onto the page. Every doubt, every twisted memory, every moment Daniel made me feel small. The pen shook in my hand, my tears smudging the ink, but I kept going. It was like waking up from a long sleep. The writing changed me, but Daniel didn't. If anything, his manipulation got worse. When I asked about Emily, he laughed, his voice sharp. "You're paranoid, Hannah. Always making things up." He'd turn arguments around, saying I'd forgotten plans, misheard promises, overreacted to his jokes. My head spun, my chest tight with confusion. I'd check my journal, reread my notes, but he'd dismiss them. You're too emotional to see clearly. He was charming to everyone else, friends, co-workers, even my parents. At dinner parties, he'd tell stories, his hand on mine, while guests gushed, "You're so lucky, Hannah." I'd smile, my lips tight, my stomach churning. No one saw the Daniel who'd mock me at home, saying, "You'd never survive without me." The isolation grew. I stopped seeing friends, afraid I'd sound crazy if I told them the truth. My copywriting job suffered. I missed deadlines, my hands shaking as I typed, doubting every word. I felt like I was disappearing, my identity erased by Daniel's words. One night, I found a receipt in his jacket. Dinner for two at a restaurant he hadn't mentioned. I confronted him, my voice trembling. "You said you were working late." He rolled his eyes, his tone icy. "You're imagining things again, Hannah. Maybe you need help." That word, help, hit like a slap. He wanted me to believe I was broken, untrustworthy. But my journal, now pages thick, told a different story. I read it late at night, the lamp casting shadows, and saw the pattern. Gaslighting, control, a slow dismantling of who I was. My hands clenched the pages, my heart pounding with a mix of rage and clarity. I wasn't crazy. He was the liar. That clarity was my lifeline. Lying in bed, the city lights flickering through the blinds, I made a promise to myself. "You're not his puppet," I whispered. "You're going to tell the truth, your truth." That promise became Glass Walls, my memoir. Writing had always been my escape, but now it was my weapon. I spent months in my tiny home office, the air thick with coffee and ink, pouring my story onto the page. Every memory Daniel twisted, every lie he told, every moment he made me doubt myself, I wrote it all. My hands cramped, my eyes burned, but each word felt like a brick in a wall I was building around my truth. I didn't tell Daniel. He'd come home, oblivious, while I typed late into the night, my laptop glowing, my journal open beside me. I wrote about the early days, when his charm blinded me, and the slow shift to manipulation. I wrote about the receipt, the texts, the way he'd smile while tearing me apart. It wasn't just my story. It was for every woman who'd ever been told she was too much or not enough. I sent the manuscript to a small publisher, my heart pounding as I hit send. They called it raw, brave, necessary. When Glass Walls was accepted, I cried, not from sadness, but from relief. I was reclaiming my voice, my mind, my life. I filed for divorce the same week, my hands steady as I signed the papers. Daniel laughed when I told him, his voice mocking. "You'll regret this, Hannah. You're nothing without me." I smiled, my heart calm. We'll see. Glass Walls wasn't just a book. It was a reckoning. I planned its release carefully, working with my publisher to time it for maximum impact. The book launched at a Chicago literary festival, with readings, signings, and media buzz. I used a pseudonym, H. Ellis, to keep Daniel in the dark, but the story was unmistakably mine. The festival was packed, the air buzzing with excitement, the scent of books and coffee everywhere. I stood on stage, my navy dress simple but sharp, my voice steady as I read a passage about gaslighting. The crowd leaned in, some wiping tears, others nodding. Women approached me after, whispering, "That's my story too." The book exploded. It hit bestseller lists, sparked online discussions, and drew letters from survivors across the country. Critics praised its honesty. Talk shows invited me to speak. Daniel, meanwhile, was blindsided. He called me, his voice sharp. "This is all lies, Hannah. You're ruining my life." I kept my tone calm, my heart racing. "It's my truth, Daniel, and people believe me." He tried to fight back, posting online that the book was fiction, that I was unstable. But the evidence was in the pages, dates, details, patterns no one could deny. His friends stopped calling, his coworkers distanced themselves. His charm, no match for the truth. I used every cent of the book's profits to start the Glass House Foundation, shelters for women escaping emotional and psychological abuse. I worked late, my office lit by a single lamp, designing programs, hiring counselors, building safe spaces. Each step felt like a rebellion against Daniel's control. The foundation's first shelter opened in Chicago, a modest building with warm lights and soft chairs, a place for healing. I stood outside, scissors in hand, ready to cut the ribbon, the crowd buzzing with reporters and supporters. Daniel was nowhere in sight, but I knew he was watching, his world crumbling as mine rose. The ribbon cutting was the moment everything came together. The shelter stood behind me, its sign gleaming, the Glass House Foundation. The crowd clapped, cameras flashed, the air crisp with autumn. I stepped to the podium, my hands steady, my voice clear. "Thank you for being here," I said. 5 years ago, I was told I was too emotional, too weak to survive on my own. This foundation is for every woman who's been silenced, manipulated, or doubted. It's proof we're stronger than they think. The crowd roared, but my eyes scanned the faces, knowing Daniel was out there, somewhere, watching the live stream. I didn't need to name him. Glass walls had done that. Social media was flooded with reviews, survivors sharing their stories, calling me a voice for the voiceless. Daniel tried one last move, sending an email to my publisher, threatening a lawsuit. "She's lying about me," he wrote. "I'll prove it." My publisher laughed it off, forwarding me the email. I read it in my office, the city skyline glowing outside, and felt nothing but calm. His threats were empty, his power gone. Friends told me he'd lost his job, his reputation in tatters, his charm no match for the truth I'd written. At the shelter's opening, a reporter asked, "Miss Ellis, what inspired Glass Walls?" I smiled, my heart light. "I wrote it to remember who I am," I said, "and to help others do the same." The crowd cheered, but the real victory was inside me. The girl who doubted her own mind now stood tall, her words changing lives. I walked through the shelter later, touching the walls, hearing the soft laughter of women finding safety. Daniel had tried to erase me, but I'd built something he could never touch. This wasn't about destroying Daniel. It was about reclaiming my mind, my voice, my strength. His gaslighting made me doubt everything, but writing Glass Walls showed me the truth and shared it with the world. The Glass House Foundation is my legacy, a place where women can rebuild what was taken from them. Daniel's lies couldn't outrun the truth forever. He learned that, and so did I. The lesson? Your pain, your story can be your power. You don't need to scream to be heard. Just tell your truth and let it shine through the glass walls. Keep writing, keep healing, and never let anyone make you doubt your worth. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and drop a comment below. Have you ever turned pain into strength or seen someone's lies catch up with them? Tell us about it. If you love real-life stories of resilience, truth, and sweet, sweet justice, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.